I am honored to announce that I have nominated Pete Hegseth to serve in my cabinet as the Secretary of Defense. What?
Pete Hegseth? Hegseth?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's weird, and there's only one reason he's doing it, because he's on Fox News.
Look, I was stunned when I saw it, but then it made all the sense in the world. It also helps that the guy you're looking at is central casting.
This is an incredibly serious time in the world. It's an incredibly serious cabinet position, and I don't think Hegseth is a serious person and a serious pick.
He also said, first of all, you've got to fire the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, which happens to be General Charles Brown Jr., a black man. And so I think we're seeing misogyny play out. I think we're seeing racism play out.
I think the next thing we want to talk about is the picks, Donald Trump's picks. Let's start with Pete, who was one of the more recent picks. I forget how to say his last name. Pete Hegseth. Hegseth. Pete Hegseth. He works for Fox News on the weekend. The guy has a substantial military background and experience. I say substantial, it's reasonable. Obviously, the Democrat that came before him, background was insane. The guy had a lot more qualifications, but qualifications and numbers and stuff on the book don't mean you got logic and common sense. That person is the same one that put all his DEI stuff off into the military and got them reading stuff they shouldn't be reading and doing all this old crazy stuff. But Pete, I think, is a good choice. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take a quick commercial break to shout out our sponsor, Ground.News. It's the best site to go to for your news because it's a balanced news perspective. Everybody just go to the one that's biased towards them. You got to look at the whole spectrum here. And Ground.News does an incredible job doing this, and they do it all for you and lay it all out in one place so you don't have to go and search for it everywhere. If you look at Donald Trump's pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, you'll see how the media is interpreting this. Obviously, the Republican Party is in favor of Donald Trump's pick. Trump's defense choice stuns the Pentagon and raises questions about Fox News host experience. Goes down, Trump taps Minnesota native for Secretary of Defense. Total shocker, Trump selects Fox News host as Secretary of Defense. Now let's go to what the left is saying just real quick. Inexperienced Fox News host. You go down here, it says Trump put ally on alert by handing Pentagon to Fox News host. I mean, they make it like a pejorative. Trump defense secretary pick thinks women should not be have a combat role in the military. So this is why you need to see what the left is saying and obviously see where it is coming from. If you look at it, you can see how many articles are written on the left and the right. You can see what news organizations are writing these. You can also see the factuality of the articles that are written, and it's presented here when you look at the article. I don't want you guys to forget about this tab here. It's called the blind spot. Don't be caught off guard. Here are things that both sides should be considering, right? The left need to be talking about articles about the number 2 senator Senate leader, and then we, people on the right, talk about Don Lemon quitting X. And so these are articles that you can look at to make sure you're up to date and you don't get blind spotted. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to go to ground.news/Tatum, subscribe through my link and get 50% off the Vantage plan, which is the plan that I use for unlimited access. Shout out again to ground.news. Make sure you're informed with ground.news. Now, we got a couple clips that we're going to show. One is the news media, i.e. Don Lemon, he got kicked off his show. But Don Lemon is looking stupider than 5 left shoes. Listen to what they say. Don Lemon is one. The View had something to say about it. And listen to what they're saying, because they're talking as if this guy just worked on Fox News. Donald Trump picked a weekend host to be in a major position overseeing the military. Roll the clip.
Must have been hacked. And then I saw this. An official statement from Donald Trump saying, I am honored to announce that I have nominated Pete Hegseth to serve in my cabinet as the Secretary of Defense. What? At first, some of these folks, these nominations, I said, okay, or appointments, all right, they're a little extreme, but there were some normal people in there, kind of normal, like Marco Rubio or Mike Waltz, a couple of, just regular old Republicans in there. But Pete Hegseth, the morning weekend host on Fox News, come on.
Let me try to we'll find Pete's resume because I put it all together. Obviously, he served in the military, Bronze Star. It says his education is from Princeton University, got his bachelor's degree, Harvard University, John F. Kennedy School of Government. Military experience, served as an infantry officer with the Army National Guard, deployed to Guantanamo Bay, Iraq, Afghanistan. Awarded 2 Bronze Stars and a Combat Infantry Badge for his service. And in the media, he's a prominent conservative contributor, host of the Fox and Friends Weekend on Fox News Channel from 2017 to 2025 or 2024, known for his outspoken conservative views and advocacy for veterans. Who else would you pick? And we have some more clips. Do we have the clip of him in that interview? Where they are mad at him now because they say that he hate women in the military? Yeah, it's part of the View clip. Okay, we'll play that clip because the View had critique about it, and we'll play that clip because I think it should be presented. I think the guy is a common sense guy that will do well, and these fools act like he ain't do nothing his whole life. I think this dummy said he don't know nothing about the military. Ma'am, he served. And just because he didn't retire as a colonel doesn't mean that the guy don't know what he's talking about, because I honestly believe these bureaucratic positions don't really need credentials. They need common sense. All right, let's play the View because these hamburger heifers done lost their mind again and again. Every time Trump picks somebody, they lose their mind again and again, and they silly. I don't know how they get away with this stuff. It's like, you don't always have to be in opposition of Donald Trump. You don't always have to be in opposition. And you don't always have to disrespect people, right? She would disrespect the serviceman if he supported Trump. This would be blasphemy if they did this to Tim Walz. They criticize him. He actually has stolen valor. And they go, the right is shaming a serviceman. Well, Pete was a serviceman too, and y'all can shame him to no end. Roll the clip.
Right now, people are trying to make sense out of the latest moves by you-know-who.
Your president, that's who it is.
He made up a Department of Government Efficiency. That doesn't exist, but he's made it up. And he's picked the world's richest man, Elon Musk, and another billionaire, Vivek Ramaswamy, to run it. But before anyone could...
Now, think about this. The richest man in the world, and Vivek Ramaswamy, who's a 30-year-old billionaire, that all of them started and ran companies. Elon Musk has probably the most successful company in American history, especially in its infancy. If you had stock in Tesla 10 years ago, you would be rich right now. And he bought Twitter. Who better to work with government efficiency than the richest man in the world? What are they talking about? You want a guy that got a degree in government efficiency, or you want a guy who's displayed clear signs of understanding wealth, American dream, and efficiency? You can't have a rocket that go off out of space. You can't have Starlink, Neuralink, Tesla solar panels. I think he came out with a cell phone. You can't do none of that if you don't understand operational efficiency. But they want some fool DEI selection to be over government efficiency. And they think that there shouldn't even be government efficiency. I'll get to that in a minute. Finish the clip.
Process that, he also picked, you ready? Co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend. Not even like regular. Weekend. Pete Hegseth?
I can't even say his name. If you ignorant.
Hegseth?
Yeah.
Okay, Pete Hegseth. And he's picked him to be U.S. Secretary of Defense. Now, MAGA supporters and detractors are trying to figure out what? Because of this pick. But take a look.
Obviously, it's weird, and there's only one reason he's doing it, because he's on Fox News.
Look, I was stunned when I saw it, but then it made all the sense in the world. It also helps that the guy you're looking at is central casting.
This is an incredibly serious time in the world. It's an incredibly serious cabinet position, and I don't think Hegseth is a serious person and a serious pick.
Now, if you're wondering about the impact of this possible new Secretary of Defense, here's his take on women who serve their country.
You don't like women in combat?
No.
Why not?
I love women service members who contribute amazingly because everything about men and women serving together makes the situation more complicated, and complication in combat means casualties are worse. I'm okay with the idea that you maintain the standards where they are for everybody. And if there's some, hard-charging female that meets that standard, great, cool, join the infantry battalion. But that is not what's happened.
Yeah.
What has happened is the standards have lowered.
So,
That's not true.
Wait a minute. Who? Find somebody that got a problem with that. Even people that serve. That dude said the realest thing I've ever heard. But people feel it, but won't say it out loud. They feel it. Ain't nobody in the military that served that's like, oh, that's just crazy. Why would anybody care what the PT standard is for women? Brother. Of course people care. Of course people care. Shout out to Anton with the major super chat. It's funny because I tried to super chat. I super chatted Anton the other day and somebody else, and it never showed. My super chat never showed up. I was like, I saw it leave my bank account, but the super chat didn't show up. So I got you next time, Anton. If the thing worked like it's supposed to. Anyway, shout out to Anton. I love seeing super chats like that. Boy, I ain't gonna even lie. But what service member, except a leftist lunatic, will say it's a problem for us to differentiate and make sure that we mitigate any conflict in a combat situation? I was telling my COO this earlier, like, I don't believe that women in combat zones are equal to men. Just physicality alone is different. That don't mean they can't serve in the military. Nobody in the world will say that. But it's a difference. And then if a woman gets deployed into a combat zone, and it happened to be that time of month, bro, why would a woman be put in that situation? I'm not say giving them medications where they don't have that monthly thing, but I got a wife. And when it's that time, emotions a certain way, you're not going to give her the tampons and stuff. They can't have a pad, the tampon. They bleeding, they got to change them out. That's too much going on. We supposed to be doing our job. And then when you have men and women together, people in the military, people be complaining, women just getting abused in the military. Men and women don't have nothing to do, shouldn't be around each other. Men should be focused on doing their thing. Because when you add, I wanted to say the word, but I'm trying to be a good Christian. When you add the temptation of booty into the military, people gonna be smashing and dashing, or they gonna be thinking about smashing and dashing. And when you've been around dudes for a long time, that look like a piece of candy. That's a sweet tooth. Piece of candy, bro. And they start looking better than they ever looked. And they ain't like they ugly. Some of them women look good in that uniform. Men be all in they think about the wrong thing. They need to be thinking about defending and protecting. They go home to their own wife. But y'all love to see men lose their whole marriage in the military. Y'all love to see it. Even these dingleberries. Nick wrote a clip.
Is this the guy who's qualified to make decisions about the most powerful military in the world, who clearly does not know anything about the military?
You know, and also I feel insulted. I'm a morning TV host, and I've been here the longest.
Yes.
Where's my ambassadorship to Italy, Donald?
Well, you're an idiot, that's
Something
why.
I said.
Beyond what he's saying just about women, the scary part is the Secretary of Defense is the highest-ranking member of the federal cabinet, and there is a budget of $841 billion. It's the largest government agency. It operates 4,800 sites in over 160 countries, and as someone who right now, we stand here with a country that has a lot of turmoil in the Middle East, in Russia and Ukraine, even in Asia with China, it makes me more than a little worried that you're picking someone who has, he served for 5 or 6 years. He was mid-ranking, never has worked in the government. And you can say the government's bureaucratic and get an outside person that's going to clean it up, but it hasn't been cleaned up yet. And therefore, you have to understand the place you're going into to operate it at its most efficient capacity. So it's alarming.
Hold on. So this is where these fools drop the ball at. They stupider than 5 shoes on an 8-legged man, walking backwards in the intersection, blind, deaf, and with dementia. I mean, I want to say a person with dementia is stupid, but you get what I'm saying. They silly, bro. They said it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. Okay, that's because there's been a bunch of military people with all these qualifications that don't have common sense and they're leftist nut jobs. So with all of these experienced military personnel and you're saying that it didn't work, it's about time we try something different. Can y'all comprende? Now, a lot of people may be shocked, right? I was shocked. I was like, who is this guy? Why would he do that? But then I started to think to myself, I think Donald Trump know what he's doing. When he picked J.D. Vance, I said I can never judge a Trump pick ever again because J.D. Vance turned out to be one of the best picks that he's made. And for some reason, Donald Trump can see people and who they really are. And I think the last time he said this on Joe Rogan, if you haven't watched the show, on Joe Rogan's show, he had made mention, Donald Trump made mention that he didn't know what to do. When he first got in there, he was taking advice of other people, and he had to hire people from other people's reference point. And most of them end up writing a book after he fired them, which is silly to me. I don't know how people take them seriously. Like, oh, you wrote a book? Oh, you wrote a book? Oh, you making money off of your hatred towards Donald Trump after he fired you. You didn't write a book when you were there. After he fired you, you somehow got all these secrets, and he was such a bad guy. But you decided to work for him. Just like this little wasted face over here. Is that the end of the clip or is more? All right, roll the clip. There's more.
What stood out to me, and by the way, I was rooting for Senator Joni Ernst, who's a female combat veteran, to be Secretary of DOD. But my issue here is, listen, he served his country admirably. I'm grateful to Pete Hegseth for his service, but he has no policy-making experience and no Pentagon experience. And by all accounts, the reason that Donald Trump chose him is because he wants a disruptor who's going to help implement his agenda. That's technically his right as incoming commander-in-chief. Yeah. The problem is, much more qualified people have gone into that role to disrupt the Pentagon, make it more streamlined, less bureaucratic, and they've never succeeded. They've ended up being outmaneuvered by 4-star generals and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So even from Donald Trump's own intent and purpose with this guy, I think that he's going to spend weeks just trying to navigate the Pentagon. It is 1 mile around.
It's huge.
It is a huge. I worked there as a Pentagon spokeswoman. There are 3 million people that will be under him on day one. The entire U.S. Armed Forces, the entire civilian population that reports to them. It is the most complex and by design bureaucratic agency in government because it shouldn't be as simple as signing something and then we're going to war. It should go through multiple rungs. And I don't see any evidence that he deeply understands the role of the Secretary of Defense. And I would also argue it's the second most important position in government after the President of the United States. You need a cool head with the experience to do the job, and I don't think he has.
All I heard was that women can't be in combat. Again, another sort of take women down.
Well,
what is this?
This is what America voted for. You know, I'm not surprised at this.
Hold on, Nick. Hold on. I got a preface before this fool say something. It's finna get bad. Put your seatbelt on. Make sure your life insurance is up to date. It's finna go off the rails. She the dumbest person on the show. I thought the other ones were dumb. She the dumbest person. She the most racist, dumbest person on this show. And they said all this about him not having experience. We will see, right? Y'all can talk all you want and say what you think, and then they act like the Secretary of Defense is like by himself. He has no consultation. He has nobody working with him. He just make all the rules himself and do everything himself. He has to literally 3 million people have to report directly to him. That's not how it works. That's not how it works whatsoever. He's the head of the food chain, like the CEO. You got people who are managing these places, and those managers have managers that have managers, and they report to you. And you say, hey, is this going on in this agency? I need this changed. You need a person that understands reality. You have people that will bring reference points to him and bring knowledge from their positions, and then he make the ultimate decision. And I think Donald Trump wants somebody there that have a cool head, that's smart, that nobody's doing, that's going to listen to what Donald Trump wants and what the American people want. That's all you're doing in these top seat. And when it's not a C-suite, but it's like a C-suite position. The man at the top of the food chain ain't talking to every single lay member. They're not sitting there making every decision that happen every single day of the week. You put people in charge that will do those things, and they report back to you, and you make the ultimate decision because you have the wisdom. And you don't have to serve in the military for 400,000 years to clean up stuff. Now let's play this woman. I want to give another shout out to Anton. Y'all see that super chat? Y'all give him a like. Go follow Anton, man. He an up and coming star. Seen him on Fox or something the other day, just killing it. And I love Anton, man. I really like him, man. Me and him need to go live together in an interview because I think he's a very smart young man that's a lot cooler than me. You know what I mean? I think he a little more calm than me. I'm on here talking crazy every day. But let's play Sunny Hostin so you can lose a couple points on your IQ test. You finna lose a whole bunch of brain cells. But hey, I warned you. Roll the clip.
Do agree with Adam Kinzinger that he's deeply unserious. He said this once: the Pentagon likes to say our diversity is our strength. What a bunch of garbage. In the military, our diversity is not our strength. I think that says a lot about who he is. I think what he said about women says a lot about who he is. He also said, first of all, you've got to fire the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, which happens to be General Charles Brown, Jr., a black man. And so I think we're seeing misogyny play out. I think we're seeing racism play out. And, we should be disgusted. We should be very, very concerned, as Alyssa has pointed out, about how important this position was. But again, I'm not surprised that he would choose someone so deeply.
I do think the context,
he kissed the ring.
The context of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, my understanding is it's over the Afghanistan withdrawal, which I objectively think was a failure. But even so, I don't think you should be firing generals who are acting out the orders of politicians. It's politicians who should be held accountable for missions that fail or for bad efforts to withdraw troops.
And by the way, Trump is the politician that put him in that position, that gave him that position. So
right, but I'm saying his issue would be with President Biden, not with the first.
I'm sorry. I just don't understand. I'm sorry.
Of course you don't.
I don't understand anybody who talks down to anybody in the military, but especially talking down to women in the military. I don't understand why you think that's a good route to go to start your new gig. But, far be it from me. I didn't vote for you, so I'm going to watch all this play out.
Okay. Dumb. This woman, they silly, man. They don't understand how this stuff works. You're talking down to somebody in the military. Well, he served in the military. And everybody should be fired from the Afghanistan debacle. You don't get to pick and choose. These people are holdovers. Everybody need to go. There's consequences. In the future, they need to make better decisions. And according to Sunny Hostin, you can't fire anybody that's black. Ma'am. So that means anybody black that get fired is because of racism. No, it's a failure, abject failure. They botched it. It was the most embarrassing thing that ever happened in the military in American history as long as I've been alive. So they got to go. Matt Gaetz. We got some Matt Gaetz. Is this the last clip of him or we got more? We got two. Let's play some more Pete clips and then we're going to go to Matt Gaetz real quick because we got a couple Matt Gaetz things that I want to touch on before we end. All right, let's go. This is the next clip? Yeah. Okay. I forget the guy who's interviewing him. It is Randy. Or Ryan. His name is Ryan something. Is he a wrestler? No. The guy who's interviewing him is a former military personnel. His show is Ryan something. I can't think. Somebody in the comment section. I like the guy. I actually wanted to go on the show. I can't remember people's names for whatever. Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan, that's his name. No, WWE. No, Sean Ryan. That dude is freaking amazing. I love his show. I watch people on it. I just be forgetting people's names. Maybe because I smoked weed when I was a kid and I lost a lot of brain cells in my memory. In football, I may got a little bit of CTE in there, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. So y'all forgive me. Just a little bit. Somebody want to talk about John Thun. What is his name? Thun or whatever his name is. Thun. The person that they may have picked for the Speaker of the state, or in the senator, the leader of the Senate. Senate Majority Leader. I finally got that out. Let's roll the clip on this. And then we're going to go through the chart, y'all, so stay tuned. We're going to go through the chart of everybody that Donald Trump has picked so far, and then we're going to have a conversation with it. And I'm going to interview a guy named Seth Leipson, who he's a local here in Phoenix, Arizona, but the guy's the smartest guy I've ever met. Other than Charlie Kirk and some other people, he's the smartest guy I ever met. And we're going to go over and talk in more thorough detail about some of the picks and give a deep dive analysis tomorrow. But today we're going to finish it with this rotor clip.
There's a chance to course correct it, but it would take the new Trump administration going after it really hard.
How would they correct it?
Well, first of all, you got to fire, you got to fire the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and you got to fire this. I mean, obviously, you're going to bring in a new Secretary of Defense, but any general that was involved, general, admiral, whatever that was involved in any of the DEI woke shit, it's got to go. Either you're in for war fighting, and that's it, and that's the only litmus test we care about. You got to get DEI and CRT out of military academies, so you're not training young officers to be baptized in this type of thinking. And then, whatever the standards, whatever the combat standards were, say, in, I don't know, 1995, let's just make those the standards. And as far as recruiting, to hire the guy that, did Top Gun Maverick and create some real ads that motivate people to want to serve. And there's lots of other ways in which you could identify who gets promoted and what, but there's an ethos change. I mean, there's a reason people don't want to serve, because they don't trust that their senior leaders are going to have their best interest in mind in combat. I know there were mistakes made on our tours all over the place, but I, at least for the most part, had a sense that my senior leaders were committed to the completion of the mission for the right reasons. And maybe there were strategic differences and all that other stuff, and it wasn't always perfect, but that trust is broken, and you have to reestablish that trust by putting in no-nonsense warfighters in those positions who aren't going to cater to the socially correct garbage.
How do you not love this guy? You don't need to be a four-star general to just understand how to clean this stuff up. You don't have to be some top dog to figure this out. It's just the people in there are stupid. I don't know these people personally, but it seems that they're stupid, right? Afghanistan was a mess. Transgender in the military is the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. It's nothing wrong with people being transgender. Please do your thing. You live in America. Transition all you want. You can go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You can cut it off, drop it off, throw it in the trash, put it in the freezer. Who cares? That's your choice. But when it comes to the military, we don't need to be doing social experiments in the military. The military has one objective. Well, it has multiple objectives with one common goal. And that is to serve the United States of America and protect us from foreign enemies. And we need people in the military that's focused on that. We don't need distractions, race and all that. People have been getting along for a very long time. You don't need DEI. There's enough black men that want to serve in the military that do an incredible job. You don't need to try to give them a special bonus or something, do all this crazy stuff. Oh, we need to hire black people. No, black men are strong enough, smart enough, courageous enough to have the credentials to be promoted and serve and be colonels. I mean, we don't need your placating. Get out the way. Let the man who earned it earn it. I don't know why we still talking about this. Roll the clip.
In 2016, I was under consideration by Trump to be his VA secretary.
Nice.
I was interviewed multiple times. In fact, I was down to the final two. And, go up to Trump Tower, up the elevator, sit with him, talk about it. And ultimately, I think he thought I was a little young and all that. But I remember he called me at one point in the process, and he said, Pete, I want to pick you. I want to pick you, but there's one problem. Why do all the veterans groups hate you? And I sort of laughed. And he goes, no, but they hate you. And I'm like, well, Mr. President, let me tell you why. Because outside the box thinking of, say, providing private choice for veterans is a threat, complete threat to the ecosystem around the government bureaucracy and the VA and the veterans groups. They exist to defend their territory. And they'll say, oh, it's for the betterment of the vets. Well, what if vets are getting better treatment from non-conventional places? Why aren't we exploring that? Well, the bureaucracy can't handle that. Well, it's not the existing system. It's not where most of the money comes from.
Any veteran that's watching me right now, do you disagree with what he's saying? Every veteran I know hates the VA. I don't know a veteran that speaks well of the VA. They take too long. They don't approve stuff. I mean, maybe I'm tripping. I don't know a veteran that thinks the VA is operating properly. And then you got stuff. What was that? The hyperbaric chamber. Because I have a guy who's my friend, Navy SEAL, and he got things that happened to him in the military. I think both physically and psychologically. And I introduced him to a guy that does the hyperbaric chamber treatment. And it does some other stuff. It's some other electro treatment and stuff. And I went, the guy invited me to go, and I felt better. I was like, wow, this stuff works. And he has been going and driving 40 minutes one way to go to this thing and get the treatment that he needs, which I believe is not covered in the VA and it's not explored upon in traditional medicine. Why can't we explore these things that help veterans in ways in which that are not standardized in the box? It's so much veteran suicide. I don't understand how the VA, I don't know how it works because I'm not a veteran, but you would think that they would have better mental health support, that it would be absolutely free to get as much mental health support from anybody you want. The VA should cover the military going anywhere. You know, I had a few friends, well, at least one, Mike Day, that took his own life, man. I interviewed Mike Day. I talked to him. He was I could tell he had a lot of PTSD. I could tell he was still struggling. He had a support dog. When he talked, he was real dark when he would say certain things. He was a good dude, man. And when he took his life, I just can't believe it. Like, how did he not get the help that he needed? And I don't know, maybe his demons were too much for him. But I know some other veterans that, and when I was a cop, man, veterans we would go to these calls where veterans are taking their lives, and it was sad, it was depressing to see a man who served honorably in the military for so many years just didn't get the help they needed. I never forget the veteran. This is going to be a gruesome story, so turn your eye, don't talk, turn the audio off if you don't want to hear it. I'll never forget this. This image is in my mind and it's staying in my mind for the rest of my life. There was a guy who was a veteran, and you could tell he had an injury from serving in the military. Therefore, he was bound by a wheelchair. Clearly, his health had declined so much that he was completely, permanently bound in a wheelchair. And I remember the call coming in where he called 911 he called the hotline, and he said, I'm in the cemetery. I'm done living. I don't want to do this no more. It's over. Let them know I'm in the cemetery. And he shoots himself on the phone. You can hear a pop on the phone, and they're telling us that this is happening. And I remember going to that site, looking through the cemetery, Evergreen Cemetery. And I remember us looking for him. And we put the spotlight, and we see him in the chair, and he had shot himself in the head. And I see him there, and he had American flag. I don't want to get emotional. Let me stop talking about this. He had the American flag on his wheelchair. Patriotic man. Ended his life. And I think about all the stuff that military people tell me, and I'm watching the fact that where was his support system at? That's one of many, and that's one division in one city in one of the smallest cities in the state. Well, now it's the second largest city in this state, but in an entire country, it's not a major city. Imagine what's going on in major cities. So somebody that understands the VA, let me look at some of these comments. Somebody that understands the VA understands that something needs to change. Something needs to change. How do we not understand that? And I feel like the current administration and the bureaucracy, they're so bogged down with bull shenanigans that they can't take a step back and say, well, we need to cut this and add this. They can't. They're wasting money on trans surgeries and all that other propaganda. I knew somebody that worked for the Obama administration. We worked as a conservative in the Obama administration. Or it was an Obama something. No, he worked in the Trump administration, but it was an Obama objective that they rejected, that they were going to spend a couple $100 million, I think it was like $400 million, to change the logos on the bathrooms across the country to where they were ambiguous, where it wasn't male and female signage on the bathrooms. It was like male, female with a dress. And you know how they do the ambiguous ones? They want to spend $400 million to change bathroom signs. And of course, the guy that I talked to that was a part of that said, man, they said, go F yourself. The waste. I don't want to get on a rant. How do people in the military not get everything covered for them in this country? How? You got some nasty woman out here that can't keep her stuff together. She got 5 baby daddies by 5 different dudes that want nothing to do with her, and she get child support money out. I mean, not child support money, but she get government assistance out the wazoo. You got people come over here illegally. They got 401k. They doing all kind of stuff for these people. And then the veteran is sitting on the corner with PTSD, circling down the drain, served this country, and ain't getting nothing. A little bit. Enough to barely get by. Man, you honorably served this country and you went to a combat zone? You should never have to worry about nothing ever in your life. Free groceries. They give you a thing where you can eat for free. Don't let me be the president. Eat for free. You served America food. Like what? And then you got illegals come over here. We spending $40 million a day in some cities to take care of illegal aliens. What? Oh, y'all got to go. We won't spend another dime on anybody except when we support our military personnel. I don't know how we even talking about this right now.